Welcome to the Dr. Dean Show. Today we've got a very special guest with us, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from her because we're going to be talking about somewhat of a serious subject, which is trauma. Trauma. And we're going to be delving into that and looking into that with the help of our special guest.
Dr. Dean Beckloff has been working as a counselor with students, families, kids, and teens for over 40 years. As the founder of the Beckloff Behavioral Health Center, Dr. Dean focuses on children and families that need a little extra help via counseling. Each week with Dr. Elizabeth Zach, we discuss all things family related to help people create the positive family they want to build. Welcome to the Dr. Dean Show.
Well, as I said, we've got a very special guest today, Michelle Rosewell. She works at Beckloff Behavioral Health Center, and we're so glad to have you here because this is going to be about a pretty important topic that we hear a lot about today in today's world, and that is usually known by the word trauma. Trauma. And I have a quote that I'm going to read a little bit of, and it's by someone named Stephanie Fu. From her book, What My Bones Know, a memoir of healing from complex trauma. I am full of anger, pain, peace, love, of horrible shards and exquisite beauty, and the lifelong challenge will be to balance all of those things while keeping them in the circle. Healing is never final. It's never perfection, but along with the losses, there are triumphs. And so, yeah, we're all on that journey of growth, development, healing, moving past bad memories and moving into, I guess you could say, something like freedom on the inside.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So let me just ask you, what does I've heard of two different terms, big trauma and little trauma. What is the difference between big trauma and little trauma?
Yeah,
Or is there a difference?
there is a difference, and they do it like most people talk about it in terms of like the big T. So put
Okay.
it capital T trauma, and then you have the lowercase t trauma. The big T trauma most of the time is like your obvious life-threatening events. So that
Okay.
could be car accidents, that could be loss, that could be like grief, abuse, violence,
I will
things that are
say,
like threatening.
I remember I've had a few kids that I've worked with in the past, and I guess they experienced that big T, but it was an accident.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an accident where they thought either themselves or someone else was going to be killed.
Yeah.
And so that would be an example of like big T.
Yeah.
Like that's life threatening.
Yeah, it could even be, especially for kids, because their nervous system is not yet sure, like what's totally threatening and what's not. It could be like a bad tornado, and like, oh gosh, is our family going to be okay?
Right.
And that could be something that feels life threatening.
Yeah, and that makes sense. My oldest daughter has a big concern and worry about tornadoes, but probably because we, may have had one coming at some point when she was growing up, and she didn't know. She was just a little kid.
Yeah, so you just
Um,
take it as is. It becomes a reality for the kids.
yeah, that makes so much sense. And I guess big trauma would be the same thing for our folks in the military who have been in a war zone, and that is life-threatening. So that's why so many of them come back with what they call PTSD.
Yeah. Yeah, PTSD for sure would be big trauma. You even find in some system, like somebody could have a bad relationship that is violent or abusive, and they will have PTSD symptoms as well. So it's not necessarily just military, it's something that's overwhelming to the system. So you'll see it a lot in different avenues.
And post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's usually perhaps going to be diagnosed when there's a big T, a big trauma of that sort. And it sounds like what you're saying too, it's usually has the construct, at least for the person experiencing it, that I'm in a life-threatening situation.
Yeah.
And a lot of our, well, I mean, school shootings,
That's a big one.
yeah, that would be big trauma. So what about little t?
Little T is your
Little T, nothing. Like we don't care about little T.
yeah.
Who cares?
Well, we do. Those are the like consistent, ongoing, like smaller experiences where the system is still overwhelmed. And when I say the system, it's the nervous system of the person. And so it could be anything from like family conflict. It could be chronic stress. It could be just issues in communication. It could be bullying at
That's
school.
Yeah. And let's take bullying, for example. When you said the system is overwhelmed, well, for a kiddo who doesn't know what to do, that's overwhelming,
It is.
and they don't know what to do. And so that would be what we would call little T, but it's not that little. It's a big deal.
Yeah,
To
it's just in the day to day. Most of the time, people aren't like, oh, it was this big event that we noticed happened. Of course, they would have some type of trauma response. It's the ongoing stuff where it's like, I don't know if that really affected them, but it does because it's like a buildup.
Yeah.
It's like a ant pile.
Yeah. Well, and trauma can come in some weird ways. I remember having one kiddo who experienced trauma because the person was attacked by a lion. But the neighbor out in the country had a lion, and it attacked him.
Wow.
So he experienced that kind of trauma. What do you call it? Trauma, almost a knee-jerk kind of reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or like a dog attacking somebody, and then they're deathly afraid of the dogs.
I had a kiddo do
forever.
that. Yeah. I mean, he was really attacked badly and ended up in the hospital, and part of his mouth had to be redone, and it was very traumatic.
Yeah, it
And
is.
I don't know if this would be little T or big T, but what about the parent? Like if their child has suffered something pretty traumatic, I would think the parent goes into a trauma experience as well.
Yeah, I would say that the parent also feels somewhat of the life-threatening feeling of like, well, my kid's life was threatened, or I had no control. You'll find that a lot in the lack of control, and that could bring up the trauma response.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember my daughter called the other day, and I was like, "Honey, if you're upset, if you're worried about something, I'm your parent. I'm gonna be concerned." There is that instinctive, natural response from a parent to want to take care of that kid and shield them from that.
Right.
And if it's already happened, they can't shield them.
Right.
Yeah. Well, can I know adults can experience both types, correct?
Right. Correct.
What about kids? Are they usually going to, because their nervous system is very young on the planet, are they mostly going to be perhaps jumping it into big trauma? Does this make...
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what I'm asking, but
I
I'll let you
I
figure
feel like
that
you're
out.
asking, do kids, teens, and adults all feel like big T trauma and little T trauma? Like, can they both happen, or is it only big for the kids because their nervous system isn't yet developed?
Yeah.
I would say it's across the board. I would say everyone can have both.
Well, let me ask you about kids. Like, are there signs of, you're a therapist. You work with kids, adults, and Michelle does a fantastic job with not only our children, but our teens, and then our adults as well. But are there some signs that might, bring up to you in your head? I'm wondering if there's some trauma that has been experienced by this kiddo.
Yes, there can be a lot of them, which can be confusing because some of the symptoms, like especially in a lot of our work, it could be related to a diagnosis. So say a kid is acting out behavioral issues, that could be based on a diagnosis, or it could like a neurological something going on, or it could be because they've experienced some type of traumatic event, or the ongoing like little traumas of being bullied at school, maybe bullied by somebody or some situation.
And I think that is part of the question that we get when we work with children in counseling is many times a parent will come to us saying, these are issues, these are problems, these are behavioral problems. but they also don't know if something has happened to the child.
Yeah.
Have they experienced something traumatic?
Yeah.
Is that why it's going on? Or is it something that's not trauma related? So I guess it's confusing to both parents and therapists at times when
Yeah.
it comes to a kid. What is going on?
Especially for kids, because a lot of the times, like, their feelings or experiences get suppressed.
Uh-huh.
They don't have the language for it. So, I mean, even as adults, sometimes we don't have the language to express what exactly we went through or why we do what we do. And so we could be like, why am I doing this? Or
Yeah.
why are they doing this? And so it can get confusing. Like, is this suppressed? Like, I can't get to it yet. They don't have language for it yet. They can't really explain what happened or remember. Memory loss is a huge part of trauma. Is it that, or is it something else? And it is hard sometimes to find which one it is. It's a lot of discovery.
Well, this may be $1 million question,
Might be.
but for the parent, what are some things that parents can do for their child if they're wondering, if something has happened? Do you have any recommendations about how parents can be there for their kid? I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. With trauma, I would say, there's options of family therapy, there's play therapy, there's family support, building trusting relationships for the kid, for them to be able to get back to, some settled ground. But I would say as a parent, a lot of the times, I think the main question can be, instead of like, why are you doing this? It's like, what is your body telling us right now? So with trauma, you'll find a lot of people live in their head. So I'm overthinking everything, I'm finding solutions. I'm trying to find control. A lot of it's in their head. And then you ask them, well, what's happening in your body? And they're like, I have no idea. It's kind of like their head's detached from their body. So I think the acknowledgement of like, what is your body telling you, allows them to get back into their body, which will give them a lot of the answers.
And just as a good parenting tip anyway, asking a kid, why are you doing this? Might put the kid on defense mode, why are you doing that? And so trying to put it out there in some different language would be helpful anyway.
Yes.
What's going on with you? I loved what you said. What's going on in your body? What do you think is happening to you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as parents, we can get pretty exasperated and like, what are you doing? No, why? No, don't go there. Just simply ask. Anything else that would make sense in terms of parents?
Safety, gentleness. The kid is picking up on your nervous system. So it's this co-regulation thing where if you're overwhelmed, you're acting, maybe like in a lot of emotion, your kid's picking up on that too. And so just being, aware of it. We can't always make our reactions so smooth and gentle. Sometimes we're overwhelmed from work. Sometimes we're overwhelmed from life's duties. We have multiple kids. We're pulled in so many different ways. So it's this grace for yourself of like, I might not always act the way that I would like to, or be gentle enough with my kid for them to be able to pull that from me.
Oh, that's really good.
But trying to acknowledge that your kid's also learning from you too. So if you're getting really upset in the midst of them upset, they're not gonna find like they have a different solution.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Teenagers too, is it kind of the same thing? I mean,
Teenagers,
and if a teenager comes in and are there certain kinds of things that you might note from a teenager that makes you think in the back of your head, I wonder if this is based on something that may have been traumatic for them?
Teenagers, it's a little bit different. You can start to see it a little bit more.
Well, and they may have the language to express
They
it.
might have the language, and they might even be able to express. A lot of the times, they say it's healing if you can express like an event that was traumatic and you can talk about it without emotion, but it's also somewhat of a shutdown. So if you notice like the client or the teenager is very shut down, maybe depressed, highly anxious, they might also be using substances or abusing them at this point. I would say that that's something to be aware of, as like they're trying to numb out something. And so I would say that that's mostly what you see in teens, is some of the maybe higher risk behavior.
And what kinds of traumatic experiences might a teen have experienced? I think we know some kind of abuse,
Hmm.
obviously, sexual abuse, physical abuse, some kind of abuse in the past. I suppose there can be traumas from other kids too.
Yeah, bullying at school, or, a lot of things that happen at school that could be overwhelming to their system.
And today, it seems like in my viewpoint that will say some of the worst things possible to appear.
Yeah. And then you have social media too, which makes it 10 times
And it
worse.
gets spread.
Yeah.
So I can see why that would be traumatic.
Yeah. It could also be divorce of parents,
Yes.
changes of family system, family conflict, parent conflict.
Right. And some of our families, there's a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
And that is one thing for parents to really work hard at doing, is to minimize, and I think most parents do try to do that, minimize the conflict between two adults. That's very disturbing to a kid.
Yeah. You find this pull and the kid feels in the middle. The trauma could also show up in the way like the kid feels a responsibility to both parents. Maybe one parent wasn't great, or had bad behaviors, bad characteristics in the eyes of the other parent. And if they're talking bad about one of their parents, one of the kids' parents, then they are going to think that you're talking bad about a part of them.
Right.
So they're going to shut that off, or they're going to be embarrassed, or they're going to hate, a version of themselves.
Right.
So that shows up a lot in the esteem and
Yes, they move into self-hatred.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this is a big question. And I know we can't possibly cover this. This would take maybe many courses of study, but are there some general things that therapists try to do when there is an issue of some kind of traumatic experience, either with the kid or the teenager or the adult? What are some things that the therapist is maybe trying to do? And I know that's a big question.
Yeah, it is. It's a journey because it depends. Sometimes you don't start in the same
Oh, that's
place.
good. It's a journey.
Yeah, you don't start in the same place with every person. A lot of the times I find, you have to start with cognitive behavioral therapy, like let's address the thoughts. A lot of those are more negative, or, I have to find some type of protection, or, I'm not safe, or I've got to find control, or I'm out of control. Addressing the thought behavior sometimes is the first thing that we have to do to even get them to a place to even discuss some of the other things.
And when you say that, when you talk about thoughts, and I guess I've heard the term automatic negative thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's ants. Is that right?
That's right.
A-N-T.
Yeah.
Automatic negative thinking. Don't let the ants come into your brain.
Right.
But those can just be there. And based, though, on, say, a traumatic experience. Maybe the person was in a very bad accident that was about, perhaps death, or maybe someone did.
Right.
Because that does happen.
It does.
So, in terms of that, what do you do with the thoughts? Are you trying to help them with thinking differently in terms of because it was a negative experience?
Yeah. It's giving safety and assurance to the situation. So not trying to change the situation, but validating that was their experience in the situation. The validation has to come first. And then I would say the reframing part comes after. So yes, all those things did happen. Or maybe I thought that they would happen, but did I actually see them happen? And then I can try to walk myself out of that. If I haven't seen that it's true, then maybe I can believe something different. If it was true, I think one of the things that stuck with me the most that somebody had said to me a long time ago is, we get really anxious at times about situations that might happen. And we say my family got hurt, and that's something I've always been worried about. And then it happened. Well, if it does happen, you will find a way to get through it. And of course, there's a lot of different ways that people would approach that. And it might not feel like we have the ability to get through it at that time, but we'll be able to push through. We'll find resilience in that. and we will find, a way to do so.
That's really good. I love the word reframing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's take, for example, let's say somebody really was in a deadly tornado, we'll call it that, and, it was really disturbing on a level of, I'm going to die in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So later, every time there's a tornado warning, they go into the mode of, I'm facing death again.
Right.
So reframing it means you're trying to look at that and maybe look at it differently for the future.
Yeah, looking at it differently, and then also acknowledging, okay, my nervous system. A lot of the trauma is held in our nervous system, and so it's not even something we think about. It's an automatic
Yeah.
reaction. And so once we can do some nervous system work to acknowledge, like, oh, this is when I'm panicking, or this is how my body's feeling, my chest gets tight, my shoulders get, really heavy, my stomach is hurting, lots of different somatic stuff that you would find.
Well, and when people are experiencing panic attacks, I think that a lot of times they feel like they're maybe having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And it's really a panic attack.
Right.
But once that panic sets in, the person wants to avoid it.
Yes.
From then on,
we all
it is
understand that.
the
Yes.
worst kind of experience and feeling, and people do what they can to avoid it.
Yeah.
But maybe, I guess I'm hearing too, you have to kind of reframe even the panic,
Yeah.
because you will survive it. You will move on.
Right.
It's the feeling of, I can't survive this, maybe.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's the feeling. It's also acknowledging, when we're talking about our nervous system, am I the person that fights? Like, am I fighting for my life at that point? Am I freeze? Like, am I frozen? Am I shut down? Am I avoidant? Am I fawn, which is like people pleasing, over giving, like over helping others, like their problems are your problems. And then there's the flight, which is also like running away and total withdrawal. I'm like, I don't want to experience this. I totally want out of this situation.
Right. And, quite commonly, we have something called school phobia that
Lots of
kids can
kiddos.
experience, and suddenly they have a panic attack in the school and they never want to return to the school.
Yeah.
Because that is bringing up, this is going to happen again.
Yeah, and I don't want to be reminded of it or have the same experience in this place. You find trauma, it can be triggered years later. It could be triggered immediately in environments and smells and things you see. Like, all of your senses can trigger something, and so it could be hard because it's like, well, I just don't want any of that. How do I totally get away from any of those feelings?
Right. And it's understandable. It's understandable.
I get it. Yeah.
That panic is there so that when the dinosaurs coming, we are going to do something.
Yeah. Or the bear that everyone talks about on the internet. It's like, the bear's chasing me, but really not.
But, that thing is kicked into us, and from my understanding, every living thing has that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a safety protection. So a lot of it's like acknowledging, like, our brain and our body is doing everything it can to protect us.
And it's
like, it is working.
Yeah.
But it's overworking at times.
Yeah.
And that's where we have to acknowledge, like, okay, maybe this isn't actually healthy or necessary.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You hear a lot about trauma. It's
lots of trauma. Everything's
Is there
trauma.
too much of an emphasis on trauma in the therapeutic world? Don't all folks suffer from some traumatic experiences? How do we set this in a larger context of living life and growing and developing? I mean, is that making sense in terms of a question? Do you think it can be too much of an emphasis, or what's your thoughts about that?
I do think it is a really good thing to acknowledge if there is something traumatic that is affecting our behaviors, our thoughts, the way we're dealing with things.
That makes sense.
Who am I as a person? How am I showing up? Is it affecting those around me and myself? I do think, the acknowledgement is necessary. But if we're using it as an excuse, like I was traumatized, so that's why I do everything I do, but I'm not actually wanting to make it any better,
Oh,
that's when it becomes enabling. It's just an excuse somewhat.
yeah.
Not the trauma itself. The experience is not, we validate that. But using it as if like this is my crutch from now on,
And
and I'm
I'm
not
just
going to
going
learn
to
how to walk.
sit in this.
Yeah, I'm wallowing in it pretty much.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to figure out, how can I manage this better, or,
Because
rise above it.
we can grow.
Yeah, we can.
We can develop. Things can move on. There's a lot of help out there. I mean, I hate to say it, but even sometimes medication can be helpful
Mhm.
in learning to manage those intense emotions, and we can do it.
Right.
We're able. But sitting in it, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, trauma is going to be there.
Yeah.
Most people are going to experience some traumatic things in their life, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the world
Yeah.
for anybody.
We do have to sit in it for a while to heal. Like avoiding it and acting like it didn't happen, that isn't going to help us to heal. So yes, sitting in it for a period of time is very healing, but then we have to figure out how to move past that. So that way we're not living life constantly stuck in this trauma response.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And that's, I guess, the point of the counseling. Is that right? Just how
Yes.
do we move forward? We're not wanting people to keep coming to therapy for 50 years. We
Yeah, we
want
know.
people to be growing and
Yeah.
developing, finding tools. And I would say that's what we're trying to do at Beckloff Behavioral Health Center. And I would say if you want to find out more, you can go to our website. That's at www.drbeckloff.com and find resources there
Mhm.
and how to get in contact. But we're there to help. We're not there to keep people traumatized and stuck. We want people
Yes.
to, like you said, experience what they need to and realize some of the things that they need to, but then move on into productive growth and development, whether they're a kid, a teenager, or an adult. Would you
Right.
say that's correct?
Yeah, knowledge itself is the first step. We have to be acknowledging and learning about ourselves. But then from there, it's okay, what tools now can I use to then like go forward and be like the best version of myself? To be able to manage maybe something traumatic that might come up again. And sometimes you find people, don't come to therapy for a while because they've been in a good place. Maybe something traumatic happens and triggers that up again. And then it's like, I need help managing through this. But we definitely don't want people to come forever. We want them to feel capable and whole to do it on their own too.
Absolutely. Michelle, thank you so much. Michelle Rosewell, very smart, understanding, and compassionate. We're so grateful for you coming in today and for being a part of our center as well.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
You're excellent at what you do and the knowledge that comes that can help people. It's not knowledge for power's sake, it's knowledge to help.
Yes.
And I appreciate what you've done and for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being
Thanks for
here.
having me.
And thanks for coming. We will be looking forward to another show soon. Thanks.
Thank you.